Hey everybody, it is Tuesday night, Ask the Therapist Live, where you have an opportunity to ask me any questions that you may have, whether it's about life or perhaps career, parenting, your marriage, relationship, sex, whatever it may be. You have an opportunity to spend some time with me, feel motivated, inspired, be able to grow and develop, and ask any questions that you may have. How are you doing tonight? How was your week? Was it an interesting week for you? Was it a struggle? What challenges did you have this week? Share with me what's been going on in your life. As you can see, a little bit of different lighting. I actually got studio lighting, and if you look at it, you see dots. So the lighting, if it's not good, let me know. I've just been playing with the lighting a little bit different than normal. I am so excited to see each and every one of you here tonight and your willingness to just spend some time with me, hang out, and really grow and develop into amazing, amazing people. If there is any questions that you have, please don't hesitate to put them in the comment section, or you can send them to me privately. You're welcome to do that, or on my cell phone if you do have my cell number, email, whatever works for you, let me know. I can see that my desk is a little bit of a mess today. How many of you use a planner? Do you use a planner? Some of us use a planner on our phones, right? Going digital is, the in thing. Well, I struggle with using my phone as a planner. I don't do very well with it. I think some of the biggest issues is, one, I have a calendar that I have to use for work, where all of my clients schedule and all of my meetings, but it doesn't accommodate my family. So I end up having two calendars, which drive me crazy, but it's the way it goes. So ultimately, I prefer paper. And I know we've touched on this before in terms of planners a long time ago, but what kind of planner are you using as we round out 2018, right? We are coming towards the end. We're at the last quarter of 2018. What did you use this year? We know that planning is truly the way that we can feel successful, feel like our life is in control, feel like we're making progress and accomplishing our goals. So this is the planner that I use. I love the Passion Planner. The Passion Planner is just beautiful. First of all, it really teaches you how to set goals, break down those goals to be successful. Second, the Passion Planner allows that creativity in you to come out. So they really encourage things like stickers, right? Stickers, colored pencils, markers, whatever it may be. Now, perhaps the guys don't really care to use markers, pens, or stickers, and that's what you're seeing behind me is like my supplies. Like, I love all of my supplies and my stickers. So I didn't clean up my desk today. Usually I'm really conscientious of that, but it's been a busy week. So Denise, you like to use a regular calendar. You don't like to use it on your phone. How many other people prefer paper over digital? In terms of your calendar? As long as you're using something, that's the benefit. You want to be using something. However, I like to use both. And with my Passion Planner, not only am I really, this is the kids' activities, this is goals I'm working towards, this is tasks that need broken down a little bit. What you'll see with this particular planner is at the end of every month, it's like, why are we talking about planners, right? We usually don't. At the end of every month, you get to assess, have you reached your goals, right? And this is where your opportunity is to write about your different goals. Anyways, enough about planners, enough about my messy desk. How are each of you doing? I'm so excited. I love being here every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you get to shine. You are the guest of our live show. So there were some challenges that I asked you to complete last week. I asked you to do a little bit of homework. Were you able to get your homework done? Were you able to accomplish the tasks that I challenged you with? Each week I challenge you with something new and different. The reason I do this is because, yes, you're here to learn and grow. but I want you to learn and grow all week. So oftentimes at the end of our broadcast, I will share with you something that I would like you to do, something that's challenging. Last week, what we talked about was Facebook posts, really evaluating what is your motivation behind your Facebook post. Do you post to brag about your children, about your career, something you've accomplished? Perhaps it's those shiny red bottom shoes that we talked about, or a big house. Maybe for you, Facebook is more a way of connecting with old friends or family members. What does it mean to you? For me, I really try to be conscientious, and Facebook is about, yes, connecting with people that I used to spend time with, like old friends, family members, but it's also about serving each of you. It's about providing quality content that serves you, that isn't harmful, hurtful, or negative in any way. How many times do we just scroll through thinking, oh my gosh, this is so fake book, not Facebook, right? So my challenge to you last week was truly each time you made a post on social media to pause and ask yourself, what is your motivation? Where do your priorities lie when you make a post on social media? What is your message you're trying to convey? Does that message align with your core values? Does it align with who you are in a life of integrity? If you're someone who is a Christian, is it a way that you glorify God? That is what I ask myself when I make a post. Is it something that glorifies God and will not harm anyone? And Denise, right now, you're looking to see if anybody's interested in Zumba in your life. Yes. So when you're scrolling through, you're looking for people who may have something in common with you to build a relationship. Those who are interested in Zumba. And you always use it in a positive way. That's great to hear. I'm so glad that you were able to look at that and evaluate and make sure that that happens, because so many times we are influenced by Facebook or Fakebook, and it takes us to a negative place. Did you know that there is a percentage of people who have died by suicide due to social media? Whether it is cyberbullying through Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or it's the feeling of inadequacy, feeling like they don't measure up to the neighbors. Social media actually has increased suicide in our culture. How sad is that? So it's really important to me that you did take this opportunity to think about, what are you posting? And did it edify? Did it edify someone? Did it tear them down? Did it edify and glorify God? Or did you misrepresent yourself? Please don't get me wrong. I'm not on a high horse. There are times where I post things that I've even pulled down. In fact, this week, there was something that I posted. I thought it looked interesting. To be honest, I was in a hurry. I didn't read the article, but I thought it would benefit. So I shared it out, and my dear friend Paula texted me, and she said, hey, are you sure you wanted to share that? That actually isn't in line with what you believe. I thought, oh my goodness, what did I do, right? I pulled it down right away. So I was impulsive. And I love having friends who help me be accountable and who can call me out when I do something like that. I truly appreciated that. So I'm certainly not perfect when it comes to this, right? So Nathaniel, hey, it's great to see you. Glad to be here. I'm so glad you are here too, Nathaniel. Yes, we hope that the rest of this group had an amazing week. Denise, absolutely, it is sad. You're never negative on Facebook, and you congratulate all others, always positive, positive. And I think that is so important. Yes, and you learn to investigate and read every time. I know, right? Like, what was I thinking? I think it's also important not to get caught up in who liked our pages, right? Paisley is here, and I can hear she's chewing on something. Who liked our pages? There's a couple of people who, if they don't like my page in the past, I would become insecure. Be like, okay, what? They're not paying attention to me, or they don't like my page. I liked their page. But I've learned to really let go of that. That doesn't even matter. So let's get started into the heart of why we're here tonight. Again, Ask the Therapist Live happens every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you have the opportunity to ask me a question, anything. I love getting really great questions, and they don't scare me. So don't hesitate. And I have a great lineup for you tonight of questions that I've received through the week as well. So I also wanted to say, gosh, it's been rainy, rainy, rainy in Pittsburgh, right? I think you're seeing on the news, there is so much rain everywhere. I just want to give a shout out to all of the people who are first responders, who are responding to the floods, and who are really, out there in the trenches, literally helping people and bringing people together and providing resources for them. I've continued to pray for those who are affected by all of this rain and the flooding, and I encourage you to do the same and find ways to get back to your community if you know someone who's been affected by the flooding. In our area, one of the ways we have been majorly affected is through downed trees. My parents lost a very large tree. Nobody got hurt. A friend, the tree fell on our house. So rain can be very damaging. Think about how you can get back to your community and continue to support and pray for those who've been affected by the hurricane and all of this rain. So if you have a question, as always, please ask it in the comment section or send it to me privately in a direct message. Let me pull up the questions for this week that I have received. All right. Okay, so as we get started, one of the questions that I received is, what are the steps to forgive myself? How often do you find yourself making a poor choice that doesn't align with your core values, which creates anxiety, depression, stress? How often do you find yourself making those decisions that perhaps you find shameful, or perhaps was impulsive and you didn't think about how it would affect others, or even more, how would it affect yourself? Not only do we need to consider when we make a choice how it affects those around us, but truly, how does it affect us? And one of the examples that I have that's probably a little difficult to talk about for some people and maybe a little controversial, but we're going to do it, is casual sex. We don't talk about sex a lot on our show. People aren't really asking those questions, but this is an area that I have been perplexed by oftentimes. We see many of our 20, 30 somethings engaging in casual sex unlike any other generations. And I see it in my office time and time again, where they come in filled with shame, with anger, with frustration, with hurt, betrayal, lack of trust, after engaging in a casual sexual relationship. Often we hear this referred to as friends with benefits, and they'll say to me, what's the big deal? There's no way I'm going to marry somebody unless I know if we are sexually compatible. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think that that's absolutely necessary? Many people do. But what is missed or not even considered is you're looking at and really taking in, how do I physically connect to this person, instead of also evaluating, how will this affect me emotionally? How will this affect me psychologically? So it's very true. We make decisions all the time, whether it's sexual in nature, gambling, perhaps it's something simple like speeding, that can be reckless and dangerous. But every single day we engage in impulsive, lack of thought actions that can affect who we are as people, right? Who we are as people emotionally. Much bigger impact than what we realize. How do we begin to forgive ourselves whenever we make that choice? Yes, absolutely, Denise, you're right. Guys do see sex differently than women. I think you're absolutely right, but I think it's really most recent generations. We didn't see it as much a long time ago. And that's, another discussion that I think is really powerful to have, is how do men and women see sex differently? And we can certainly talk about that at some point if anybody desires to do that. So, again, what I'm talking about is when we make these mistakes, how do we forgive ourselves? Yes, I can absolutely, Aiden, talk to you about CBD oil and ADHD. Thank you for the question. So let's answer this question and we can move on to that one. Thank you so much, Aiden, for joining. I love having you here and I appreciate you sharing your time and space. So what are the steps to forgive ourselves? First and foremost, where do you come from in terms of your core values? Are you a Christian? Are you someone who practices some sort of religion? This is often a place where most people start, right? They start with biblically, or they start with their religious perspective in forgiving. But what I want you to do is, the first thing I want you to do is to acknowledge that there is something to forgive, right? Let's take, for example, something easy, such as being disrespectful to your husband. How about that? So I've had an argument with my husband, for example, and I called him a name. Now, my husband and I choose very specifically and intentionally, we do not call names. It's very important to us, and it's never happened because we don't argue like that. And I suggest you do the same. But let's just say you called your husband, a jerk, and now you feel guilty. How do you begin to forgive yourself? First and foremost, you're accountable for your actions. So you acknowledge that you've done something that's against your core values. That's how we know if it's right or wrong. That's how we know if we need forgiven, is acknowledging it's against your core values. Second, give yourself some grace. Admit that yes, you're human. Humans make mistakes, and your intention was not to hurt anybody, but impulsive in self-defense. Poor coping mechanism, poor defense mechanism, but indeed it was. So acknowledging, and then third, in order to forgive yourself, is to begin to release, being able to say, although I made this choice, it does not mean I'm a bad person. Although I made this choice, it does not mean I'm a bad person. Forgiving ourselves truly starts with the inner dialogue, being able to be accountable, acknowledge, grace, and evaluating that inner dialogue. How are you talking to yourself whenever you've done something wrong? Are you shaming yourself over and over? Have you been able to release that moment of weakness that perhaps that you had? Lastly, and what I love about forgiveness is, as you round it out in those steps, what have you learned? What is your life lesson? What is the meaning of the action? So I called my husband a jerk. That's our example. And I've taken the time to acknowledge, give myself some grace, be accountable. And be accountable to me means owning up to it to your partner, being able to say, hey, look, I'm sorry. It was wrong that I called you a name. And finally, it's that ability to say, what was the lesson I learned in that mistake? Granted, this is something very small, trivial, but what I can say is calling your spouse a jerk over and over can lead to a lot of damage. And psychologically, you feel like crap for being like an unkind person. So the lesson I learned in that example is that when I become angry, I need a timeout. I need to take some space. I need to be able to communicate effectively and learn those tools. So I hope that helps you learn what the steps are to forgiveness and forgiving yourself. It's not simple. It can be the most complicated task in healing. I used a trivial example, but you can apply those steps to even greater transgressions. The important part is taking action rather than allowing it to simmer set in you, creating more anxiety, stress, or self-loathing. So Aiden, you asked a great question about CBD oil and ADHD. As many of you know, I offer CBD oil to my clients. They have an opportunity to purchase it in terms of coping with or managing anything from anxiety, depression, to most recently, I have someone who is taking it for cancer and tumors that they have, and seeing some shrinking occur around those tumors. We do hear that. It's not foolproof. It's not every time, but it does happen. So we found it effective for arthritis, chronic pain. And Aiden is asking about ADHD. ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Yes, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So we see in adults two kinds, the attentive type, or the inattentive type, and the just lack of focus, right? So attention deficit hyper, that's our hyper part, or attention deficit disorder, with hyper, without hyper. So if you were to identify someone, an adult with ADHD, you're looking at someone who can't sit still, they tend to fidget, they lose track of time, inability to focus, they jump from task to task. Or you find that they're doing multiple things and never really finish anything. ADHD as an adult affects everything from work to home, lifestyle to relationships. So it's really important that if you are struggling with ADHD or ADD, that you receive treatment that's effective for you, whether that is research, CBD oil. So Aiden, CBD oil to treat ADD, ADHD, helps you regain focus without the side effects of medication. It helps you to be able to control your thoughts, less obsessive thoughts, so that you can complete a task from A to Z, right? So it is very similar to a stimulant medication, perhaps, Aiden, that you're aware of, such as Vyvanse, Concerta. It has the same benefits, but there are no side effects. So it is considered a natural supplement, and is very effective in treating ADD, ADHD. So in terms of recommending milligrams, how many milligrams do you recommend for vape fluid? You and I would have to connect, and I would have to look into that a little closer, to be honest. I usually don't use CBD oil for vaping for ADHD. Usually when I recommend it, Aiden, I recommend it through the oil sublingual under the tongue. I find it's more effective than the vaping. To me, the vaping's been most useful for anxiety, nervousness, feeling edgy, and we do get those symptoms with ADD, ADHD. So I would have to get back to you in terms of the milligrams that you would need to vape. I know the information is there in my information, but because I don't use it regularly for that purpose, I don't have it on the top of my head. But I'm gonna make a note, and I will definitely get back to you. So what I want you to do, Aiden, is I want you to come back to this video after it's over and it's posted, and I'm going to post the milligrams for you underneath your question to make sure that you have your information. Again, I recommend the oil sublingual. It is more effective to me than capsules, but I would love to hear your thoughts on your effectiveness, the effectiveness of vaping for ADHD. You know, if you've had really great results, please share that with the group. I love to hear that. Oftentimes I'll recommend it for people who are going to, instead of like Ativan, or instead of like someone who doesn't take those drugs, can easily and effectively use CBD oil for vaping before a big speech, before anxiety. Hey, Hal, it is great to see you. Hey, Aiden, Hal is someone who I work with CBD oil. Hal, Aiden just asked me how many milligrams in a vape would be used for a daily use for ADD, ADHD. Hal, do you know the answer to that? I told him I'd get back to him, but you actually are way more the expert in terms of milligrams for vaping. I've not done that yet. So if you can share that, Hal, I would greatly appreciate that. If you could share milligrams for vaping, what Aiden can put in his vape for ADHD, that would be great. What's the daily dose? So Aiden, be watching. I believe Hal will post that. And if not, then I will certainly do that for you afterwards. So yes, Christy, it is great to see you. I am, miss you, Christy. She is my sister-in-law. I love her dearly. You use CBD oil in your wellness center for pain management. Yes, it is hugely and widely accepted for pain management. That is where I see success too in our salve. Our salve is applied topically, and we see great results. I have a client who had her hip replaced, and she was having complications 6 months later. She came to me and asked about the CBD oil. She now uses CBD oil on her hip for chronic pain, and she has no pain at all, none. I have another client who was unable to get out of bed due to pain in his knees with arthritis, but yet due to his weight, he wasn't able to get the knee surgery. He had to lose weight. So he uses CBD oil, the salve, on his knees when he wakes in the morning, and he is able to function, go to work, not have any issues, and even minimally exercise in terms of releasing that weight. So it's been amazing. And Denise, you use it for, yes, for fibromyalgia. Absolutely. My daughter is taking CBD oil in capsules for IBS. So she has IBS and acid reflux. She's on 6 different medications, and I want her off the meds. So she is taking CBD oil for IBS, migraines, and acid reflux, and it's been really effective. We haven't weaned her off her meds yet for anxiety and depression, but we will be doing that soon with the CBD oil. So great question, Aiden. Thank you so much for joining. Between Hal and I, you will have an answer by the end of the evening. We will take care of you, Aiden. So thank you so much for asking that question. Other questions that you have. Thank you so much, Christy. I love doing this. I absolutely love being a part of this. Excuse me, puppy. I love doing the Ask the Therapist live. It is so much fun. I look forward to it. And this is Paisley. She's missing everybody. Say hi. Hi, Paisley. Huh. I don't let her lick my lips. Ugh. So anyways, what's our next question? Do you have a question? Every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Ask the Therapist Live, where you are the rock star. You get to ask the questions. Do you have a question about love, life, sex, parenting, marriage, career? You name it, and we will answer it for you. As you see, if I don't know something, I will be honest, I will tell you, but I will definitely deliver an answer to you before the end of the evening. So ask away. So my next question is, how do I live a life of integrity and obedience to Jesus daily? When is enough enough? That is a really good question. So how do I live a life of integrity and obedience to Jesus daily? How do I know when enough is enough? So quite frankly, is enough enough? I don't think so, right? So what we know about human nature is when we go against our core values, it creates anxiety, stress, depression, shame, anguish, anger, destructive relationships. Like, seriously, identify your core beliefs, follow your core beliefs. When you make a decision and you think, what should I do? You go internally and say, what do I believe? What do I believe? And then answer your question from there. Make a decision from your core values. I promise you, you will be happier. So how do you live a life of integrity and obedience to Jesus? First and foremost, I need you to identify, what does that mean to you? How do you know what is integrous or obedient? Define that. Sit down, take some time, brainstorm, write it out. Please sit down and define what is integrity, what is obedience, and then make a list of your core values. For me, one of my core values is to live a life with integrity. My definition of integrity is being committed to my word, being present for those who I care about, and being sure I follow through in what I say and what I do as it relates to who I am and who I present to be, right? Like my religious beliefs. So if I tell you that I am not going to steal and I believe stealing is wrong, then I'm not being integrous, means I don't steal, right? So there's an example. So when you define integrity and obedience and then your core values, living a life to Jesus every day becomes very simple. Then each action we have, each thought, is in glory to him. That's how you evaluate if you're living that way. So when you ask me, how do I live? Truly by one day at a time, one moment at a time, and we are not perfect. When I rise in the morning, how do I live according to God's word as I rise, as I wake, as I hit that alarm? Well, one of it is I'm going to hit my alarm and plan my day instead of taking my alarm, throwing it across the room and swearing, right? I may feel like throwing it across the room. I may feel like swearing, but that's not in line with my core values. That's not living by integrity, and that's not obeying what God's command, right? We are to control our temper, control our anger. So there's an example of living life even from the moment your feet hit the ground, right? Living a life in service is another way. Giving back. We are called to give back. So whenever you're evaluating your life and wondering, am I living a good life? Am I a good person? First and foremost, it's, are you living according to your core values? And are your core values one of substance, right? If you have a core value that you can, be cruel to animals, then that's a problem. That's not a good core value. That's not even a core value, right? So that's how you live. That's how you live intentionally with integrity and obedience to God. And no, I don't ever think enough is enough. I think the more you live according to your core values, the happier you are, the more blessed you are. You will see absolute abundance by living every single day according to your core values and what God calls you to do. Amazing, amazing things will happen by doing that. So I hope that answered your question. So Lauren, is it ever possible to have a relationship with a narcissist, especially if they are family, with a healthy relationship? Thank you. To have a healthy relationship with a narcissist, especially if they're family. This is a great question and one of my absolute favorite topics. I love talking about narcissism. I love treating those who've been affected by a narcissist, and I love treating narcissists. So thank you for the question. That is awesome. So to answer your question, yes, you can have a healthy relationship with a narcissist. Whoa, what? So here's what I'm talking about. First and foremost, you've identified that they're a narcissist, but how you have that healthy relationship is through setting boundaries and that person adhering to it. There are people who are diagnosed with narcissism that are not total jerks. Hard to believe, I know. But there are people I've worked with in my practice that come to a place who are able to acknowledge that they have these really negative behaviors that isolate them from the rest of the world and destroy relationships. And we begin to label it as narcissistic tendencies. They will agree to that, and then they manage the symptoms. It doesn't happen very often, right? It's rare, but there are cases where people are willing to acknowledge that yes, they do exhibit a level of narcissism, and they're willing to manage the behaviors. When someone is willing to manage the behavior, you're able to have a healthy relationship with them. But be aware that there will be times where there may be hiccups in the relationship, which is why the boundaries are essential. So perhaps a better question, Lauren, is what is a healthy relationship to you? What are you looking for in this relationship? Maybe it's possible, maybe it's not. Oftentimes I educate kids who have narcissistic parents. If you're able to realize you can only ever have a surface relationship with them, there is no ability to have any intimacy with a narcissist, even one that's managing their own issues. If you're okay being on a surface relationship and doing exactly what they want, such as we're having a dinner party and this family member insists on turkey for dinner, then if you get turkey for dinner, there's not going to be any problems. But if you say, we'd rather have steak, then there's going to be issues with the narcissist. They're not going to like it and they're going to give you a hard time. But again, if you're willing to have a surface relationship with strict boundaries so you're not sucked into it, then you can have a relationship with them. Definitely challenging, definitely difficult. We can certainly flesh out what is that relationship? What does it look like? Is it possible? There isn't room for anybody else's thoughts, feelings, or identity when you are in a relationship with a narcissist. But think about how many people in your life you actually have a surface relationship with that isn't highly intimate, and you tend to take a back seat perhaps and allow them to do the planning or not make a big deal about what they want to do and you go along with it. We do it all the time in many of our relationships to make them work. that are just surface relationships, such as perhaps church members that we see on Saturdays or Saturdays or Sundays, right, at the church, or perhaps work people, right? I have a surface relationship with the other tenants in my building. I would be very happy just having an exchange, a conversation, even getting coffee or lunch with them because there's no level of intimacy. So where it becomes a stumbling block, right, is those who are entrenched in narcissism are consumed with themselves and you feel nauseous just sitting in their space. Then it makes it almost impossible. That tells me that's someone who is not working on their own behaviors or looking to grow. The puppy is really quiet. I'm like, where did she go? Oh, there she is. She's sleeping in my bag. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, very surface, Lauren. It has to be very surface. And that's okay. How many times on Facebook do we see articles about, is it okay to end a toxic relationship with a family member? Yes. Yes, you have to care for yourself first. And remember, Lauren, I know that you're a mom, so you and I both know that we want to be examples to our children of how they are to be treated, by family members, friends, future spouses. And so we want to show them that they are worthy of being taken care of and they are worthy of a healthy relationship. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much for that question. Other questions that you have. So as you're thinking of other questions, I'm going to share with you something really exciting. As you know, iRise Leadership Institute is the nonprofit that I founded, and I founded that nonprofit in 2016 based on a book. Our mission is to eradicate suicide. As many of you probably have seen on Facebook, it is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. So we are doing different things to really call awareness to suicide prevention and how we can help others and help educate others. So this month we have done and participated in 2 different walks. One was Out of the Darkness and the other was a walk in Cranberry that Marta, and remember we talked about this last week, Marta participated with her family. I actually ended up not going, and it was in walking in memory of her son Tyler, who died by suicide on March 25th. And they raised a tremendous amount of money for iRise, and we are so grateful, so thankful for them. Even in the pouring rain on Saturday, they walked in memory of Tyler, and they established a scholarship for him. Coming up, we will be speaking with our VP, Paula Miles, the VP of iRise, will be speaking with Dan Berta. How many of you know Dan Berta? He owns the Raw Studio in the North Hills, and he is going to do a fundraiser for us on Monday. So next week, all next week, he is going to launch a fundraiser for suicide prevention and awareness out of his studio. And if you haven't met Dan, check him out on Facebook. Dan Berta is an amazing contributor to many nonprofit organizations and raises awareness and money and is very, very generous. So there's his name on Facebook. He owns Studio Raw, and it's a hair salon. They do amazing work as well. So if you are in need of a haircut or anything like that, he's great for that too. So there is Studio Raw. So Monday, you'll need to watch live on Dan's page as he dedicates the week to iRise Leadership Institute, all the proceeds for suicide prevention and awareness. So what are you doing for suicide prevention and awareness? What we know is every day, 22 veterans die by suicide. Every day. Every 14 seconds, someone dies by suicide. Every 14 seconds. That is a lot of people. It is an epidemic. The largest population affected is ages 10 through 24. 10 through 24. I saw three children in the news this past week, ages 10, 9, and 12, that died by suicide. Now, it's tragic regardless of age, but I don't know about you, it really hits me when it's like a child so young that they were so sad and so broken and just in a bad place that they felt so alone. So what are you doing to call awareness to suicide prevention this week? I'm going to encourage you to do something. Every single day I am sharing different information about suicide prevention and awareness. Please share it out, right? It's that easy. It's one click to share. If you would like to make a donation, you can head over to iRise Leadership Institute, and we would be very grateful for a donation as we are launching over the next 6 to 8 months, takes a long time, as we are launching a teen group for suicide prevention awareness in the community. It'll be a place where teens can go who feel like they are struggling with anxiety, depression, and bullying. It'll be a safe place for them. So at any point you want to participate or give back in some way, just let me know. This week, as I share things, click share, and we can call awareness and lower those numbers, right? We want to eradicate suicide. So again, Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Ask the Therapist Live, where you can ask questions about anything, whether it's love, sex, wellness, parenting, whatever it is, career, you ask the questions. I'm going to check social media and see if I have any questions within social media while you think of a question. So let's check Facebook. Have you shared this out yet? My goodness. I forgot to tag some people. Whoa, that's not good. Okay, so did you invite your friends? Did you share this out? Last week, we only had 3 shares. What's up? The week before that, we had 9. Hold on, it's my daughter. Hello, Madeline, I'm live on Facebook. Ah, you're locked out of the house. That's not good. I'll send your brother. Yep, bye. Okay, bye. You know, when your kid calls, it's really important. When your kid calls, it's important to answer the phone, even if you're live, right? Oh, thank goodness. She's just walked out of the house. Not a big deal. We're all home. All right, so let's see. Okay. Let's look at this. Okay, so here's a great question. So I know, Lauren, right? Like, you gotta, do you remember, Lauren, like probably a month ago, my husband called me while I was live, and he actually had a flat tire and was stuck. I had to leave and go get him. So life happens, right? Life happens to me, it happens to you. It is what it is. So the next question is, I was never diagnosed with ADHD as a child, but was with ODD. Can adults be tested, diagnosed with that, as I feel like it is possibly a struggle of mine? So what is ODD first and foremost? ODD is oppositional defiant disorder. This is a disorder most often diagnosed in children. I shouldn't say most often. It is only diagnosed in children, oppositional defiant disorder. This is actually a great question, and it's on the spectrum of ADD, ADHD. So thank you for this question. So initially what we see is children who are diagnosed with ADD, ADHD often, untreated, progress to oppositional defiant disorder. When a child has oppositional defiant disorder, this is beyond just the normal, difficult behaviors of a child figuring out who they are. This is beyond the typical developmental lying or being mean to others, or taking something from the checkout, and feeling sorry for it. ODD instead is a progression from ADD, ADHD. The next step is untreated ODD is conduct disorder, okay? So I just want to give you that continuum. So when you look at them, it's ADD, ODD, CD, conduct disorder. Now, conduct disorder are the kids who ended up in like juvie, right? Those are the kids who break the rules and harm others without remorse, without sadness. These are the kids that you knew in school tended to, break into break into places, or get caught driving without a license. It tends to be law breaking, very negative, mouthy. At the root cause of all of this, so let me say this, the root cause of all of this is really a hurting child. This is really a sad, hurting child. Oftentimes there is stressors in the home. Poor parenting can be a cause. Trauma can be a cause. There are multiple reasons that would then present itself as the diagnosis. So what you're asking me is, should adults be tested for ODD? Typically, we don't see ODD in adults. It's primarily and only diagnosed in children. How it represents itself, how it shows up as an adult, is antisocial behavior, right? Sociopathic behavior, psychopathic behavior to be extreme, but more likely antisocial behavior. So antisocial behavior is typically someone who goes against the rules, who doesn't want to, who struggles with authority, multiple jobs, difficulty trusting, having healthy relationships. So to answer your question, should adults be tested for ODD? You're not going to get very far because it's a childhood diagnosis. However, if you find you are struggling with some symptoms that may feel like ODD or you may think is ODD, absolutely go out there and meet with a therapist, get the diagnosis so you can get the support. Impulse control is a part of all three, right? We notice that if the impulse control hasn't developed, then children tend to act out in these ways. So as an adult, if the impulse control hasn't formed at a place that is more like controlled, there's medication too. Just because you may have antisocial behaviors doesn't mean you can't function in society. Does that make sense? I hope that answers your question. So if you were diagnosed with a child with ODD, then that is oppositional defiant disorder. Many kids can, yes, absolutely, Denise, they can grow through it if treated. If it's not treated, the chances are slim to none because then it progresses to conduct disorder. We see the same thing with ADD, ADHD. The prefrontal cortex of the brain isn't fully formed until age 25. That's why we begin to see less symptoms around that age. Most often, kids with ADD, conduct disorder, or ODD, back of the brain, right? They're thinking from the back of the brain. Impulse control, fight or flight, where instead, as their prefrontal cortex develops, they then are able to manage symptoms. So we don't see them as much as adults. That is not always the case. I have ADD. I had ADD as a child, untreated. I didn't even realize then that, that's probably what it was. But as an adult, I certainly have ADD, which I now treat. And I just started treating it probably about 6 months ago. And life is much better. I am way more organized, much more focused, able to complete tasks. Now, that doesn't mean I don't start a new business like every 6 weeks, but I'm learning to rein that in too. So yes, people can grow out of it. So there's less symptoms, and they're able to manage the symptoms easier. Okay, so this person is actually clarifying, instead of ODD, what he's saying is, to clarify, I think I may have undiagnosed ADHD but was never tested. So that, yes, an adult can be tested for ADD, ADHD. You can simply, a couple different ways. You can go online and actually Google, a test for ADD. It's obviously non-professional, but it'll give you an idea if you have some of the symptoms. If you are positive, you test positive on just a quick quiz, then it may be worth checking into. Now, I'm not a big fan of just doing the online quizzes, right? That's not going to help us. However, when you do see a clinician or a therapist, you can just have a screening for ADD, ADHD through someone who's master level, right? You don't have to go to a PhD. You don't have to go to a psychiatrist or a physician. You can go to a clinician, a counselor, and be tested for ADD, ADHD very simply. In fact, if you feel as an adult that you may have it, I can send you a link if you direct message me, and you can do the screening yourself, and you'll know if you need further treatment. Further treatment can be just cognitive behavioral therapy, where you're taught different skills to be able to manage, such as planners and organization. That's major. Allotment of time. Time management is huge for people. I procrastinate and do everything at the last minute. But with my medication, I've learned that I don't procrastinate as much. Now my mom is on here, so I know, I know she'll be able to say, yeah, I don't know about that, because she bails me out all the time. But she's a wonderful woman. But the medication certainly helps. So the adult can be tested through meeting with a counselor or just a general screening online. The different ways of being treated: cognitive behavioral therapy, or there is medication, and as Aiden has shared with us, CBD oil. ADHD medication oftentimes has a lot of side effects, inability to eat. There's like a loss of hunger, insomnia, weight gain, impulsivity, anger. So there are some side effects to the stimulants used for ADD, ADHD, but I would definitely start with a natural supplement like CBD oil first to see if it's effective before you move into a stimulant, for sure. So I hope that answers your question. And like I said, if you think that you may have symptoms of ADD, ADHD as an adult, please direct message me and I will send you the link to do a pre-screening, and then I can guide you from there. I hope that is helpful. Hey, Angel, it is great to see you tonight. You are so beautiful. Thank you so much for joining. So Denise says, what are your thoughts on children that are born addicted to drugs? There are more children with eye problems, behavior problems, and young children exposed to trauma. Yeah, absolutely. I think that if there is a child who is born addicted to drugs, we do see a long-term effects of those drugs. It's unique per child as to what level they're affected. Some are symptoms of ADHD. Others are much more pervasive, much more difficult, such as, like you're talking about, physical difficulties, such as anything from, the eyes, seeing issues with the eyes, hearing, sensory, executive reasoning. We see multiple issues. It's obviously very sad. So Angel, this is Ask the Therapist Live, and tonight people are asking questions. So if you have any questions, you can ask anything from love, sex, marriage, to relationships. We've talked about CBD oil. Right now we're spending some time, Angel, talking about ADHD, conduct disorder, and oppositional defiant disorder, and how to treat, how to diagnose. And Denise asked a question above about my feelings on children who were born addicted to drugs. So we are talking about lots of different things. That's what we love about this space, Angel, is you can ask whatever you would like. And I, as a clinician, as a therapist, offer my services to you, obviously at no charge, so you can have some direction in your life, so you can find a way to find joy and happiness. So other questions. My Facebook, I don't have any. Yes, let's see. Let's look at Instagram. I prefer Instagram on my phone. Isn't that silly? All right. Do you have any questions? Any thoughts? Anything you want to share? All right, I don't see any on Instagram. All right, nothing on LinkedIn. So it looks like our questions have been answered on social media. If you have anything, you can let me know. Let me look at my list and make sure I've covered all of my questions, because a lot of times I actually get them from clients too, which is really, really cool that they are here as well. Oh, I have another question that I received this week. This is a good one. You're going to laugh about it. My wife would like me to hug my adult sons more. We have not in the past, and it feels a little awkward. Do you think this is a must in parenting? So this dad is asking, he's saying, hey, look, my wife, she's telling me I need to hug my adult sons more often. What do you think? Is this weird or what? So this is a great question. And if you know me, I am not a hugger of people. Like, that's not me. Paula my person is totally a hugger. Like she wants to hug absolutely everybody. And I love her for it. But she has learned that you don't hug me. That's just not how I'm wired. Although I will tell you that when it comes to my family members, absolutely. Like I melt into the arms of my husband. I love to hug my children. I love to cuddle with my kids, even though they're older. My daughter is 17 and she wasn't feeling well. And she said to me, "Hey mom, can you come up and cuddle?" Yeah, like absolutely. But normally I'm just not a hugger. So to answer your question, yeah, Denise, you grew up not a hugger. You have a teen son, so if you were prompted to hug your teen son more, what would you do? Well, Dad, here's the deal. You've got a relationship with your sons that is healthy, that works. There isn't any turmoil. There isn't any strife. There is no need to increase your hugging unless your boys are asking, right? You can have the conversation. Like there are times when clients come to me and say, "I wish my family would have hugged me more. I wish my parents would have hugged me more." And that's true of male or females that have come to me and said that. So instead of guessing, wondering, instead of saying, "Yes, dear, I'll do whatever you want, dear," talk to the boys. Say, "What do you think? Would you like more hugs from your dad?" Like, yeah, it's an awkward conversation, but that's one thing I am so pro is communicating effectively. Yes, communicating effectively with our children. So this particular dad, his sons are adults. So allow the relationship to be very natural, very organic. Have the conversation rather than forcing it. We never, ever want to force hugs on people who do not want them, even if it's our family members. Sometimes we think we have a right to hug them or to make them give us a kiss. Do you remember when you were younger and there was like great Aunt Sally and your mother would say, "Okay, give Aunt Sally a kiss, give Aunt Sally a hug," right? And you're like, "Oh my God, here she comes with her lips and they are totally slimy, right? Like I don't want to hug her." So don't force it, right? Allow it to be natural. Allow it to be natural. So Dad, this hair is driving me crazy. Dad, you don't have to force hugs on those sons. If they want them, give them. If not, not a big deal. You have a relationship and you connect with them in a way that is effective and healthy, that shows your love. Chances are you show love differently than through affection. You show love through spending time together, right? So you show love through perhaps giving of gifts. And it's not through physical affection, and that's okay. It's not weird. It's not awkward that you don't do it. So please don't feel forced to hug your children just because your spouse told you so. It's not healthy, right? And have that communication, have that conversation. Yes, absolutely. Love You Forever book. It is very good. And he still sits on your lap and is proud of it. See, look, Denise, we may need to have a side conversation about that one. Just kidding. Yeah, my kids are very affectionate with me. My son, every morning before he goes off to school, before he leaves, he always gives me a hug and a kiss on the cheek without fail. And I don't initiate it. He initiates it. So it's just awesome. And I'm grateful for that, but I don't ever force it. So I hope that helps answer your question. Yes, love languages, right? How many of you have taken the love language quiz? Oh my gosh, this is like the best quiz. If you haven't taken the love language quiz to know your love language, I'm going to put it in here. Love language quiz PDF. This is a great way to really look at how do you love, how do you give love, and how do you show love. It's a very simple 2-minute test that will allow you the information. There we go. That looks a little weird. I don't know why it didn't show up right. Let me see if I can copy it. It's a PDF, which is what I always prefer. So we'll copy, paste. We'll try it one more time. And if not, then we'll just do it afterwards. But anyways, what I was saying is those of you who do not know the love language test, I want you to take it. Print it out. Great, Nathaniel. I am so glad that you took the test. Nathaniel, what's your love language? What's your fiance's love language? This is a great test, not only for couples, but I had my kids take it too. There is nothing like this amazing opportunity to know exactly how your child likes to be loved. Because you may show love through affection, and your child may prefer quality time. You may wonder why your child is a little ornery or irritable. Perhaps it's because you haven't given them what they need. It's a great test. Download it, take 2 minutes, have the whole family take it, learn how you love, and learn what they like to be loved like, right? Some people are gift giving, words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, whatever it is, learn about it. It's awesome. And there is a book for couples and there's a book for family. You don't have to read the book, although it's an easy read, but take the test, okay? Yes, mother, that is my mother. Yes, you love hugging and telling your grandchildren how much you love them and how precious they are. Yes, my mother is definitely a hugger, and she gives such great hugs, right? So anyways, I hope that helps. I hope that helps answer that question. As a father, you do not have to hug your sons if they don't want to be hugged. It's okay. Other questions? Other concerns? Everybody needs meaningful touch. You're absolutely right. Yes. And I think that brings up a very valid point. We as human beings really thrive on touch. Touch is very important to many, many people, right? If touch isn't important or you don't like to be touched, oftentimes there's a reason and you need to respect that. If it's someone you don't know well, like for example, I'll be leading a Bible study on Thursday mornings in my home every Thursday from 9 to 11 a.m. There are 10 women that will be in this space. Chances are we're going to get to know each other pretty intimately through this Bible study. We're going to learn and grow together. There are times where I may feel compelled to just put my hand on a knee or on a shoulder just to say I'm here as you share. But I need to ask permission first. I can't just touch without permission. There are many people who have experienced trauma in their life, and that trauma can be physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, who will react negatively when touched. So we always, if it's someone we don't know well, want to ask permission. We do not have a right to touch another person without their permission. So even though I'm in a Bible study with 10 women, I will ask permission to touch before I do, if I don't know this person. So family members that we don't see very often, perhaps it's family members we only see at reunions, if you're more inclined to hug, ask permission instead of assuming that everybody likes to be loved like you or that everybody likes to be loved and touched. That's not always the case. If they've experienced trauma in their life in any way, they don't want to be touched, right? And you need to ask permission. So I think that that's something that many people overlook or don't think about. They make an assumption, whether it's professionally, personally, within your family, that everybody likes to be touched if they like to be touched. But that's not the case. It's much more respectful to ask or to simply shake a hand or not to touch at all. Touch can also send the wrong message. Think about the dynamics of men and women and how men and women interact with one another. If I go into a professional meeting and I touch even the arm of a man, it sends a message. It sends a message that I don't want sent. What a man, because of how they're wired, hears or interprets, now this isn't all the time, but most of the time, is warmth, right? Connection. But that's not the case. For me, it may be as a clinician, it's more of understanding, acknowledgement, value, right? But it's not appropriate. So in professional settings, especially, we have to be very careful with touch. So we went off on a tangent on touch, but touch is really powerful. If you do any research around touch, on the power of touch, humans would die without touch. You know, there has been research done on animals who are left in cages and are never touched that die. So we know it's really important, but it's not up to you to decide when to touch or how to touch someone. You need to ask permission. So does that make sense? All right, anything else? We are looking at, we are over our hour, just by 4 minutes, not a big deal. Do you have any questions before we wrap up? Do you have any questions before we say goodnight? I get my book. So I want to tell you 2 more things. One, I will not be here next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we will not have Ask the Therapist Live. I will be in New York on a beautiful ranch with a group of incredible people for the Hero Club that I am on the board, the advisor. I'm an advisory board member for the Hero Club. We are traveling to New York at a ranch where we will participate. It's called Cast and Blast. So we will participate in professional development during the day, and in the evenings we will be sitting around a fire. We will also be fishing and clay pigeon shooting. Tongue twister, clay pigeon shooting. We are going to do some amazing, amazing things. So I will be away rejuvenating, connecting with amazing leaders across the country for, let's see, Sunday through Wednesday, and then I'll be back. So I will miss our time next week, but I want to make sure that you remember that I will not be here. And of course, I'll send a reminder out so nobody waits around, and I will be sharing photos. The Hero Club is an amazing opportunity for leaders who like to network with people who are CEOs, founders, investors, or authors, professional speakers. You have an opportunity to really meet with them, talk with them, collaborate with people who are as ambitious, as directive, as career-driven as yourself. So if anybody is interested in the Hero Club, what's beautiful is with my membership to Hero Club, it's an all-expense paid trip. And they do multiple all-expense paid trips all year. And also, professional development and training is included, in much of it, as well as webinars. So it's an amazing networking opportunity to be a part of the Hero Club. I am, as a board member, building out the Hero Club in Pittsburgh. I was asked to help really identify who are the heroes in Pittsburgh who would like to be a part of a C-suite style network. So if you think you would enjoy that or like to be a part of it, we are having an event September 21st. You can direct message me, or you can say Hero Club at the bottom of the screen in your comment section, and I will send you a personal invitation to our next event on September 21st. It's a breakfast event where you would have the opportunity to learn more about the Hero Club, the free events that you get to attend. I shouldn't say free. There is a membership fee each month, but it is well worth it. Like, they have done so much for me just in the 30 days I've belonged. It's incredible. So I went off on a tangent. It's my passion. I absolutely love the Hero Club. I love their mission. It really is for leaders who like to serve, and you're around people who are just like you, that are real, raw servant leaders. They are not fake in any way. It's not about red-bottomed shoes. It's not about fancy houses or cars. It really is about connecting in heart space and changing the world globally by teaching value to others. So it's an amazing, amazing group of people. Jeff Hazlett is the owner of the Hero Club, so you can certainly Google Jeff Hazlett and learn about him. Here's the Hero Club right there, where you can find more information. Also tied into the Hero Club is the C-Suite Network, which I'm a part of as well. You can check that out. Again, if anybody's interested in the Hero Club and you would like to attend September 21st, please send me a message or say Hero Club below, and I will send you a personal invitation. It is invitation only, and there is no cost for September 21st. You just have to be vetted by myself. So, all right, that was one thing I wanted to share with you. The other thing I wanted to share with you is I told you that I was relaunching and rebranding. I am absolutely doing that. And the podcast, I met with my team today, and the podcast will be launched next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Next Wednesday, 3 p.m., we will be launching Knights of the Revolutionary Leader, Conversations of Influence and Change. So awesome, awesome stuff. Great interviews with people who are celebrities, people who are founders, to people like you and I that live in small towns, but yet we've made big waves. So you'll love listening to those. So that's next Wednesday. All right, let's do our quote and get out of here, right? You guys have been amazing tonight. Thank you so much for your time. Okay. So this one's actually about romantic love, which is very appropriate since we were having some conversation about romantic love and sex. Romantic love is not a competitive sport. You're running your own race. We don't dig or not dig people based on a comparison chart of body measurements and intellectual achievements and personality quirks. We dig them because we do. So let's read this one more time. Romantic love is not a competitive sport. You're running your own race. We don't dig or not dig people based on comparison chart of body measurements and intellectual achievements and personality quirks. We dig them because we do. How often have you said to your spouse, I know I have, like, what do you love about me? Like, sometimes when I'm having a rough day, I don't get it. Like, you seem like way cooler than me. What's up? You begin to feel insecure. And he'll say to me, well, I love you because you're you. That's his answer all the time. I love you because you're you. Well, okay, that doesn't help me. Like, what do you love about me? I need you to stroke my ego and tell me. But see, this quote is really cool because it says, we love people for who they are, right? We just love them for their value, not for the way they look, not for their odd personalities or body measurements. We just do. And so I urge you, when you look at your romantic partner, or if you don't have a romantic partner, when you look at the people you love in your life, I think it's very applicable. We love people for who they are. We don't love them for what they do for us or how they look or gifts they give to us. We just love them because we do. And love is a freeing emotion that we can share with absolutely anybody. And as always, I tell you that I love you. And I love you because I can love you. I love you because my love is endless. And it doesn't matter that I don't know you personally. It doesn't matter that I don't know who you were before. But see, I love you for your past transgressions, for they made you who you are today. I love you for your insecurities of today because they strengthen you and give you empowerment to grow, be more. And I love you for the mistakes you'll make tomorrow because they're life lessons. They're sharpening of who we are and what we will be and how God will use us. I love you for just who you are. I am grateful for you. I am so blessed by the time that you share with me. I am blessed by your comments, your questions, by your ability to just be present with me each and every Tuesday. You bring me joy. I am grateful for you. And you are never alone. Never. As we honor those who have died by suicide. Yes, don't get me wrong. As we honor those who have died by suicide. I live my life each and every day honoring them because that's my passion. But Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month in September, think about the heroes in your life. Think about those who have struggled with sadness, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, those who have attempted suicide and who have survived. They are to be cherished and honored. Those who have died are to be honored. We remember them for the strength, for the battle that they fought each and every day, trying to get through the pain. Most people don't want to die. That's a myth. Most simply want to escape the pain. They want to end the pain, and they just don't know how to do that. If you experience any thoughts of suicide, don't be afraid, be anxious, be aware, reach out. But see, fear can be debilitating. Fear of reaching out of shame is why we call awareness, why I stand up every single day, boots on the ground for suicide prevention and awareness to save lives. I want you to do the same. So this month in particular, every single day, what will you do? What will you do to help others? What will you do if you're struggling with suicidal thoughts? There is an 800 number that you can call anytime or text. You know where I'm at. You can find me. Reach out or learn what it means to help someone who may have those thoughts. So next week, I won't be here. Remember, I will be on a ranch in New York, rejuvenating, connecting with amazing leaders so that I can come back and be a better person where I can serve you at a greater level. I do love you. Have an amazing evening. And thank you again for spending Tuesday with me. Every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Ask the Therapist Live. You, my friend, are a blessing to many. Now go out there and serve.